So. So, schauen wir mal. Läuft angeblich die Übertragung. Ah. Oh, I've got to speak English. Oh. Oh. Okay. We are running. Oh! The first viewers have arrived. Wonderful. Good evening. Yes, I've just started the live stream and now I'm waiting a little bit for people to show up. Oh, 5 people. All right. Okay, so just let's see who stumbles upon this, who finds his way on this Sunday evening to this live stream of the launch of Chapter 7 of the Wormworld Saga, which will happen in about 27 minutes. We've got plenty of time until then to wait for a few more people. And I hope that at the right side of the streaming window, you'll see this Q&A app. You can post your questions over there if you happen to have any. And as the way I understand it, those questions can be voted on. So if you vote for a question to be answered, it will step up the ladder, and the question with the most votes will be on the top, and I will just try to keep an eye on the questions, and I will try to answer them. All right. I guess I will also now make a little tweet about the live stream that it has started, and we'll just see if we can lure in a few more people to the live stream. We have 9 visitors already. Good evening, everyone who has just arrived here. I will just post a little tweet about the live stream. What do I write? Chapter 7 launch, live stream just started. Wormworld Saga Chapter 7 launch live stream just started. Yes, and now we have some time left for the preparations. Last time in August, I ran out of time a little bit because in the last few minutes I had to do all sort of stuff, and a few of this stuff I have I try to do better this year. For example, I have a scheduled tweet to tweet the launch of the chapter, so I don't have to do it right after the launch. But I will have to do some social media stuff directly after the launch. But in fact, I thought that as the chapter is launched at 10 p.m., you might want to read it actually. So my assumption is that reading chapter 7 will take between 15 and 20 minutes. And the last time I immediately started to talk about the chapter directly after the launch, and this makes absolutely no sense because you might just want to read it. So I will just try to find something else to do in these 15-20 minutes directly after the launch. As I said, I'll have to do some social media linking anyway, but maybe I paint something or make a little experiment with screen share, or I just answer your questions. By the way, could someone post a test question? Because right at the moment I'm seeing none, and I just want to know if it works. So if anyone could just ask a silly question in this Q&A app on the right side, I hope it is displayed. Then I could make sure that the function is actually working. Okay. I don't need this. Okay. Make sure that the function is actually working. I'm just checking the. Oh yeah, there's the first test question. That's cool. All right. I just started the streaming window myself. It's a little bit weird to see me a few seconds ago. I guess I will leave the live stream now. So okay, I have the first question, and I see that I can actually highlight the question. It will then be shown on top, and this is a test question from Miriam. Are you from the Netherlands? That's my assumption based on the name. And Ivan is there too. Hi, Ivan. Nice to meet you again. But right at the moment, okay. This is my wife, actually. So it's difficult to find the Q&A button. I don't know. If I open the stream myself, give me a second. Assumption based on the name. And just let me mute myself. So you have to actually press the Q&A button, yes? I'm sorry that I'm not that I don't have more routine in this, but I'm not doing this Hangout stuff very often. You have to push a Q&A button, okay? Don't know. Where is it? Where's the button? Oh. Yes, the black love. Okay. I see I have the first questions here, so it seems to be possible to find the Q&A button. I have to watch the time. We have about 20 minutes until launch left, so I will be able to actually answer a few of those questions. So okay, I think we are okay with the test question. What I don't actually know is how I can't see the Q&A and the chat at the same time. So if you want to send me a message via chat, I might see it a little bit late, but let's just go with the Q&A app. Give me a second to close. Tablet lost its function on the main screen. Give me a second. All right. There it is. Okay, so let's dive into the questions. How was your meeting with Scott McCloud? Well, this was actually just an otherworldly experience for me. For those who have not seen the picture, I will just I will just do something I don't know, silly. I took the picture with I took a picture with my cell phone of let's see if you can see this. Do I have autofocus on? Oh, it's hard to align it. Okay, focus, camera, please focus. Focus here. Hello. Give me a second. Autofocus is off. All right, now. Yeah, I could tell you that it is Scott McCloud and you would never know. Maybe I should try screen share instead. But this is actually, now the autofocus got it. This is actually Scott McCloud holding the deluxe edition of the Wormworld Saga book. And this was a great moment. I visited Leipzig Book Fair 2 weeks ago, I guess. And I noticed that Scott McCloud was signing his new book, The Sculptor, which I actually can recommend to anyone who likes to read comics. And he was doing a signing of the German version of The Sculptor in Leipzig. And I went to the signing session and just used the opportunity to give him the Wormworld Saga book. And this was great. And we had a little talk. Scott McCloud actually knows the Wormworld Saga. A fun fact is that he was a very early supporter of the project in 2011 when the first chapter launched. And because I used this infinite canvas approach that he practically invented, or at least he invented the term infinite canvas. And I think he felt a certain connection to the project back then. And he supported the project with donations and by tweeting about the first Kickstarter for the Wormworld Saga app and stuff like that. And well, you know, I read his book Understanding Comics in 1995, and this is actually cool. Let me show you. I have to look at the time, but we have 50 minutes. So this is my original copy of the German version of Understanding Comics. It's called Comics richtig lesen in German. And he did a little sketch inside for me and a little dedication for Daniel. So this book is 20 years old. And after 20 years, after reading it for 20 years, and after being inspired to be a comic artist 20 years ago by this book, I finally got, well, the signature of Scott McCloud into it, and this is a huge treasure for me now. I would just put it back into the treasure chest. Yeah. Yeah, and it was a great event to speak to Scott McLeod and to see him in person. Yeah, and I hope this answers the question. I really had a great time. Okay, let's see. Okay, the black glove. Where was it? What's the black glove on your hand? Yeah, this is just my drawing glove. I use it on the Wacom tablet all the time, and I started to do this when I moved into my first own apartment. It was directly beneath the roof, and in the summer it became awfully hot, and my hands began to sweat in the summer, and I started to use the glove so that my hand wouldn't be sticking to the graphic tablet. It's a very simple cotton glove that you can get everywhere, and they used to be white. They are white when you purchase them, but I was wearing them at my job back in the time, and when I and everyone all the time asked me, "Oh, Daniel, what's with your hand? Is it broken or something like that?" Because it was white and it looked like a bandage. And then I started to dye them in black color so that they didn't look any longer than like a bandage. And I'm getting asked. I'm not getting asked if I hurt my hand now as often as I used to, but as you can clearly see here, Hans Wessel asked if my hand got hurt. No, it is not hurt. It's just my standard drawing glove. It's a standard glove where I just cut off the thumb and the two fingers. It's pretty ugly, but it works perfectly. And even if my hands are not sweating now, I just can't draw without it. I'm so accustomed to the feeling of the glove on the tablet surface that I just can't do it without. All right. We have 30 minutes left. We can answer some more questions. And for everyone who just joined the live stream, we are now 16 people watching this. So a good evening to everyone. And as I already explained, this Q&A app that runs at the side of the chat, you can vote questions there, and the question with the most votes, I will try to answer. All right, so the highest voted question now is, what purpose does the mirror have? Do you make move and gestures seeing how it looks like? Well, you see there's a very nice and big mirror there. I will just go into the room so that you can see it better. It's actually occupying the whole wall. I once purchased it from ergotherapy studio, which closed, and they sold it secondhand. And it's a cool mirror, and the main use of the mirror is so that my studio doesn't look so small when I come in. It looks double the size that way. Also, I always get the feeling that I have a coworker over there. Hey, Daniel. Hi. And I'm not using it often to make gestures. The truth is that if I need a reference for a figure or for a pose, I will normally use the webcam because I have on purpose I have purchased a webcam that I can move freely around with a very long wire attached to it, so that I can position it anywhere in the room. and I'm mostly using the webcam if I need reference picture. I normally record a video in which I perform the pose that I need, and this is better than taking photos, because in the video I do the pose in several variations, and I will just stop the video at the point where the pose is just the way I imagined it. And that's my technique to reference. But I do it quite often, especially for hands. If I have hands prominently featured in a panel, I will normally do the gesture myself and use it as a starting point. Okay, we have 10 minutes left. I hope this answered the question. The mirror is mainly to make the studio look bigger. And actually, for full body poses, it's actually very practical to point the camera at the mirror, because you have a very long room that way, and those webcams are pretty wide angle. So to capture a full body pose, it wouldn't be so easy to do it directly in front of the camera. So what I mostly do is I pose to the reflection of the camera in the mirror. So this is definitely helping. Oh, and what I didn't do is selecting the question, but now it's done. The question is done. Okay. I will just clear out some of the questions that were test questions. Oh, and I've got a good note here from Ivan. If you want to pose a question, the Q&A button appears when you click on the cubic icon, third after the avatar image, and then this Q&A app should open up, or at least the form where you can type in your question. And it's pretty annoying that the Q&A isn't directly launched when you enter the live stream, but we'll see. Okay. Oh yes, okay, Julia had to Google to find the Q&A button. I see. So, well, there's the Q&A button somewhere there. On my side, by the way, it looks like. Oh, I have to turn on the autofocus. Nah, come on. It looks like this here. A little speech, rectangular speech balloon with a Q&A in there. Find it somewhere on your live stream window, and you can post me questions. Ask me anything, really anything. If it's not too hilarious, I will answer the question, and maybe I will even answer the most hilarious question. So never mind. Okay, we have to watch the clock. 7 minutes to go. Chapter 7. I'm really happy to have reached this point, to be able to present chapter 7 actually, which is awesome. 7 chapters already. You have to know that when I launched chapter 1, I had no idea if I would ever be able to launch another chapter, because the first chapter was done at the side of my day job. So I had a full-time job in 2010, and I produced chapter 1 in my free time. And about 2.5 weeks after the launch, my first son was born. And from that point on, I just didn't have any free time. So the question for me really was if I would ever be able to continue the story after chapter 1. But as we now see today, I am able to to publish chapter 7, and this is really awesome for me. This is something that if you had told me 4 years ago, in 2011, I would not have believed you, because how could it happen? How should it ever become possible to put so much time into such a project? And we've got 5 minutes left now, and publishing the chapter actually is only a few clicks for me. So I think I will just answer some more questions. There's one from Hans Wessel. Is there some kind of stage fright before launching a new chapter to the public? Well, I'm a little bit nervous, I have to admit. I had a pretty relaxed weekend until now. Everything was ready for the launch on Friday evening. And I just had a completely normal weekend. We went out with the kids. Today we visited the grandparents. Grandpa just had his birthday. We brought some presents for him. Maybe he's watching. Hallo Papa, wenn du zuschaust. Nochmal herzlichen Glückwunsch nachträglich. And just until half an hour before this thing here started, I started to become a little bit nervous. And now that I'm seeing that about 20 people are watching this, which is awesome, I'm a little bit nervous what to tell you and how to make this worth your time, you know. But well, I hope that you all get the vibe of this event. I don't have prepared anything special for you. This is not a big show event or something like that. This is just me sitting in front of the computer, pressing the buttons to release the new chapter, and then I would just like to be here to talk to you about anything, actually. We don't necessarily have to talk about the Wormworld Saga, although I would be happy to talk about it. But we can talk about anything. I was thinking that after the launch, I would like to let this run for about an hour, 60 minutes, so that we just can hang out a little bit and just talk about anything. It's Sunday evening. I don't know. I don't have anything better to do than sitting here, and maybe some of you, maybe with some of you, it's the same case. So just let's have a good time. And yeah, and now it's 2 minutes until launch, and I guess I will have to prepare now, and we can continue the chatting after the launch. I will give you a little view on my screen here. We have, oh yes, 1 minute 30 seconds are shown here. The timer. Oh, I have to turn on the autofocus. So this is what the public is seeing right now. Wormworldsaga.com with the counter on chapter 7. You camera, you're not really capable of focusing, are you? Oh yes, you are. Great. Okay, this is the timer. There's now 1 minute left. And I will just now proceed to do what has to be done to launch chapter 7, which is entitled Fateful Encounters. Well, we were left with a cliffhanger at the end of chapter 6. A cliffhanger where Jonas is confronted with the mysterious hooded stranger on the Ollings. And now it's 25 seconds. I will just go to my FTP program. The new version of the website is already sitting on the server. I just have to rename the folder so that it becomes the actual wormworldsaga.com folder. And oh, it's time. All right, so we take this one, we call it old. And oh, the church bells are ringing. It's 10 o'clock. And if you refresh the browser now, you should see this. I hope it works. It does work. This is the new wormworldsaga.com with a new header image and with a new chapter 7 button. Yeah, press it. What happens when you press it? Oh, you get chapter 7 in 3 languages: English, German, Spanish. And how does it start? I will just look at the start. Oh, it's starting with the city panorama image, on which I painted over 25 hours, mind you. So have some fun with chapter 7. I hope you enjoy it. And I will just, right now, I will be with you, but I will do some comic creator stuff. I will have to, I have to launch the Kickstarter campaign. Oh, give me a second. I was talking so much and I completely forgot to start the Kickstarter campaign, but that's okay. I hope nobody can guess my password by the sound of the clicks. You know, my original plan was to launch the Kickstarter campaign before the chapter, so I kind of screwed this up, but that's no problem. Okay, launch project. Oh yes, accept the rules. Yes, I will accept the rules, of course. Okay. So the Kickstarter campaign is live too, and we might be able to talk about that a little bit. But I will just let you read the chapter now. As I said, 15 to 20 minutes, and after that we might, well, you might even have the first questions about the new chapter. I don't know. So one thing I have to do is I have to connect actually the banner on the website. I have to connect it to the Kickstarter page. So give me a second here. I'm in my HTML editor, and I just have to, yes, there it is. I just have to pick the address of the Kickstarter campaign and put it into the index file. Now I have to overwrite the index file on the server, and if I haven't done anything wrong, it now should, the banner now should link to the Kickstarter page, which it does. Okay. Okay. Oh yes, I wanted to link the Kickstarter video into the credits. Oh, give me a second. Okay. Oh, we already have 2 backers. That's cool. But where is this link? There used to be a link where you could share this project, of course, embed. Yes, I want to embed the video. This is highly technical stuff, very boring. You are very fortunate that you can actually read chapter 7 of the Wormworld Saga right now and do not have to watch me copy pasting HTML code into the website. Give me 7 chapters in credits file. Kickstarter video. And I want to copy this widget. The widget into the credits. All right. Okay, that should do it. Now I have to replace the credits HTML file on the server. And again, let's hope that I didn't ruin the file. That's my specialty. I will just have a look at the chapter. If you're not through, don't look at the screen now. I will scroll down to the very end to see if the credits file. Don't look. To see if the credits file shows the Kickstarter. Oh yes, but their stuff is broken. Okay, there's stuff broken. Look at this. This is totally crammed up. I just have to look up all small solutions. Give me a second. Always the same problem with me. Screwing stuff up. I think I'm missing a div tag here. And I might just make this a little bit higher. Like 900. I will check it in my local version first. Okay, the streaming clogs up my performance. I will just go. The credits file is the same on all chapters, so I will just, to avoid spoilers, I will just check this credits below chapter 6. That looks a lot better. Everything is aligned. Everything, okay. So this is still a little bit tight. Give me a second. Do I have to put brakes over here? Okay, now it looks okay. I will now upload this version. Okay. Yes. Okay. 9 minutes after launch, you're still reading. I will now. I will the people on Facebook let know about the new chapter. I actually had to wait for this because I know I need the live link of the chapter to create a preview that looks decent. So it's only a small announcement, because when I paste the link and the content is online, Facebook can take the images from the live content, and I don't have to do it myself. So it's a little bit more easy than doing this beforehand and scheduling the post and stuff like that. So what do I write? Of course, the first thing, please like/share so that as many followers as possible at the news. Chapter 7. Wormworld Saga. Chapter 7. Fateful Encounters has just been launched. Enjoy reading. And I mean it. Post. So the thing is, while there are about 10,600 people subscribed to the Wormworld Saga Facebook fan page, if I post a link on the fan page, only a fraction of these followers will actually get the information. For example, the announcement a few days ago when I announced that the new chapter would be launched, reached about, what's it saying, 2,500 people. Because if a post, and that's much, by the way, reaching 2,500 people off my 10,000 followers is a big achievement, because normally I only reach about 250 or 500 people. Because if your post isn't liked and shared by your followers, it won't be distributed to all the followers, which is totally annoying for me, because I know I have potentially 10,000 people there that would be interested in the news, but it's very hard to reach them all. And only if those people that I reach like the post, more of the followers will actually receive the post. And this is really annoying. Of course, I could pay money to reach more people, you know. Facebook is really nice in that way, that they give me the opportunity to pay them money to reach my followers. All right, but I don't want to get all heated up about this. So I hope that a lot of people now like the post, so that at least maybe 20-30% of the followers on Facebook will get the news and will actually read the new chapter. And well, we could just have, that was fun last year. We will have a look at Google Analytics and see how many people are reading the chapter right now. Okay. So there's a nice real-time feature on Google Analytics. And let's see if you can have a look over here. Oh, give me a second. I have to adjust. I turned off the automatic adjustment of the brightness, because it normally gives it disturbs the image. But now we can see that 35 people have found their way to the website right now, mainly in the United States, actually, and they are reading. And I can see that 13 people are reading the English version and 8 people are reading the German version. So this is interesting. That's a nice thing to to watch and to think about that. If this was a small shop, maybe somewhere in the somewhere in town, I would now have the shop full of people, 30 people, that would all look at my stuff. That's a nice comparison, I think, because when I normally open the real-time statistics, I see about 1 or 2, maybe 3 people, depending on the time of day, looking at the website. And now we have over 30 people. That's cool. Oh yes. And 15 people have already discovered the Kickstarter campaign and have pledged $600. That's awesome. I will, of course, inform the backers on Kickstarter after this recording. I don't do it because then it's really getting boring for you. And I would say, since we now are 16 minutes after the launch, I will just give you a few more minutes. Let's say 4 more minutes until it's 20 past 10, and then I will get back to you with the Q&A. Oh, Thandar House Classics, pledge for the deluxe edition. Way to go. Yeah, the deluxe edition is awesome. I really love it. It's one of the coolest things that came out of last year's Kickstarter campaign, and it's expensive as hell to produce. And we had, for the second campaign, I had to raise the funding goal substantially because the deluxe edition costs about 3 times as much money to produce as than the standard hardcover edition. But it's completely worth the investment. It just looks awesome. This cloth-bound gold embossed thing. Okay, just a few more minutes for you. I just watched the metrics a little bit more. That's really funny. Seeing people on the website. I am wonderful. The post on Facebook has already reached 170 people. And so this is doing its work right now. These live postings are sending people to the website. The little beeps you might hear in the background, I turned down the volume a bit, but I just want to keep an ear on the little beeps, which are retweets, which are happening right at the moment. These also do their work to send people to the chapter, and this is a very important time for the project, in fact, because there's so much time between the different chapters. I cannot assume that the people are always checking my website every day, because it's too boring for them. There's nearly no updates on the website, so people actually forget about the Wormworld Saga over time. And when there's a new chapter, it's actually hard to reach them. And I have to use mechanisms like Facebook, Twitter, tonight I will also send out a newsletter to the first people that have subscribed to the Wormworld Saga newsletter, which you can do on the website. And I recommend it because, as I said, if you're following the project on Facebook or on Twitter, you might just not get the information because it's not in your timeline or it's not posted when you are active. You know, I'm often posting stuff when I'm awake, and which means that all the people in Asia or all the people in the United States are sleeping. So you might just miss some stuff if you're not if you're only depending on social media. So I recommend to just subscribe to the newsletter. I'm not spamming anyone. I will only send out newsletters if new chapters are released or if something really important like a Kickstarter campaign or something like that happens. So that way you could make sure to never miss an update. Okay, so it's 20 minutes after 10. I will now start to dig into the Q&A. And this actually is the fun part. I hope that those of you who have already read the chapter and who have not followed my boring tech stuff here have enjoyed it. I've put a lot of effort into it. It's not as long as chapter 6, which is good because I spent way too much time on chapter 6. My project schedule on chapter 7 was pretty accurate. I planned to start the production in January, what I did, and I planned to end the production in late March, early April, which I did. And this is really good because after chapter 6, I really got nervous if all my planning and scheduling was actually worth anything because I spent so much time on chapter 6, which I did not account for before the production, and it really wasn't easy actually to compensate for this extra time because, you know, the budget for a chapter production is normally cared for and set up before the production starts. And when the production gets out of control and takes me much more time, this doesn't necessarily mean that I have enough budget to continue the production. And it was very fortunate. I was very fortunate with chapter 6 that it turned out good in the end. Well, by what I mean that I was actually able to finish it. But I really had to make sure that my assumptions and my schedule for future chapters would be accurate, so that I knew that with the budget that I had in place for the production, I would be able to actually finish the chapter. And for chapter 7, this was the case, and this is this is what was really helping a lot. All right, I will now get into the questions. The question with the most votes right at the moment is: how many chapters are currently planned for the Wormworld Saga? Well, the big picture of the Wormworld Saga is a trilogy, which means that my very rough plan for the whole saga is 3 journeys into the Wormworld, and each journey will be complete story arc, and it will always and it will always be Jonas who will travel into the Wormworld. So we have 3 journeys of Jonas into the Wormworld. And what we are experiencing currently is the first journey of the child Jonas. With chapter 7, we approximately come close to the middle of this first journey. So the real middle turning point of the story will happen in chapter 8 and 9. And this will more or less mark the midpoint of the first journey, and which means that there will be about 18, 19, maybe 20 chapters that will comprise the first journey. And actually, the first journey is what I'm concentrating right at the moment. I have all the main story arcs ready for the journeys 2 and 3, but these are so far away in the future for me. I'm currently concentrating on the first journey, and well, as I said, within the next 2 chapters, we will reach the middle point of that journey. So at the end of the year, the project will reach its 5 years anniversary, and I really hope to be able to finish at least one more chapter until then, so that we might have chapter 8 towards the end of the year, for example. And that would mean that after 5 years we have reached the middle point. And if we now assume that I keep doing the project the way I'm doing it right now, which is mostly me doing everything, we could maybe prepare mentally to reach the end of the first part of the trilogy in another 5 years. So around 2020 something. But this is really assuming that I live as long as that. And actually, my plan is, if the project grows the way it grew over the last years, it might be possible to bring more people into the project. For example, additional artists to help me with the artwork. I'm really dreaming of a little studio environment where more people than just me would be working on the project, and that way I might be able to accelerate the production of new chapters, and this might end up something that, don't know, maybe in my dreams I would be able to publish a new chapter every 2 or 3 months or something like that, and that would make it completely possible to finish the whole trilogy during my lifetime. But right at the moment, I'm concentrating on the way I'm doing it right now, and this means that after 5 years, we've nearly reached the middle point of the first journey, and I can imagine another 5 years to conclude the story. You know, these 5 years now, it wasn't a long time, was it? I think it went by very fast. So if there's no other way, I will just do it on my own. I will just finish it all on my own, and no problem. Okay. I think this answers the question. And the next question. I really love the style of drawing you're using. How did you end up with that exact style in the first place? Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm really happy to hear that you'll like the style. And I don't know if I have already ended up anywhere, because if you look closely at the different chapters, you will find many differences in the style. I think it was 2 days ago, I took the time to read all the chapters of the Wormworld Saga in one sitting, and I and some of the chapters I saw for the first time since 2 or 3 years maybe. And because I don't actually read the story so often myself, which I guess it's natural because I wrote and illustrated it. I often go through the artwork to get material for promotion, or you will find some very, well, I think it's nice, some nice material of chapters 4 and 5 in the Kickstarter video, actually. But reading the story and seeing all the artwork in one big session was really interesting for me. And what I noticed is that the style of the Wormworld Saga has changed a lot over the last few years. So I changed my workflow a lot. I changed my brush tips in Photoshop a lot. I changed the way I work with layers, and actually now for chapter 7 I used some new brushes and some new workflows that I've never used before in the preceding chapters, and I tried to make it in a way so that it's not so noticeable. But if you look closely at the artwork, you will see that there's new brush tips and a new way to work with shapes in some cases. And so I don't really think that I ended up somewhere. I think that it's a constant progression and a constant evolution of the style. And I don't even know if it's always for the better, because what I, for example, notice is that chapter 1 is very painterly. Also, the characters are very painterly, and the outlines of the characters are sometimes very, very, well, not so clean. And after chapter 2 or 3, I started to use lasso selections for the characters, for example, which made for a much cleaner outline of the characters. And I personally like this change, but I could imagine that there's people who say that things looked more organic in the first chapter, maybe. So, but I'm trying to constantly look at the last chapter and see what can I do better, where can I enhance the visuals, and where can I make it less work for me too. So it's a balance. I don't want to spend too much time on the artwork, but I also don't want to lose quality. So it's tricky a little bit. But I think this development will continue with the upcoming chapters. I'm always re-evaluating workflows, and I'm always eager to optimize. And I'm also ambitious to become a better artist, to make my image composition more clear, to make my color compositions better, to work better with light. And so we will definitely see more development in the future on that. And I just realized that I did not okay, so now it's done. Next question. Is there already a link available for the Kickstarter Volume 2? Okay, this was before you said you pledged for the deluxe edition. All right, so I will just clear those two questions. We've got another one. Oh, there's the stage fright question, which I already answered too. Is there a release date for the third German volume, and which chapters would be included? Yes, well, there's no release date, yes, yet, because well, I have finished my work on it, because volume 3 of the German book will include chapters 6 and 7. So I've just finished the content for the book, but I don't really know. But I don't really know when the publisher will be ready with their work on the layout and everything. The last time we spoke about it, we agreed that summer fall 2015 would be a realistic date for the release. So that's what I'm expecting. So that we will just need another few months until the layout is done, and that we will then see it in summer, late summer / fall of this year. So this hopefully, and I didn't. Well, I have to click on the questions here so that they're displayed on the top, and I constantly forget about it. Well, it's late. It's Sunday evening. I hope you understand. Okay. But now I pick this question. Where do you draw your inspiration for your stories and drawing? Yeah, this sounds like a standard question, actually, but I started to think about it not so long ago, because, well, there's some obvious answers that I could give to that question. You see a lot of stuff in the Wormworld Saga that is obviously inspired by real stuff. I have a great inspiration, a great fascination for the Asian continent, for example, for India, China, and Japan, and a lot of cultural details from those regions are going into the Wormworld Saga. So you have the turbans, which are inspired by India. You have the clothing of the people. Raya is wearing a zari, and these are all references to Indian culture, to Asian culture. Or take the transport ship in chapter 5, which is inspired by trains in India, where people would travel on the roofs on the trains, and you might have seen pictures of those trains filled with people on top, and that was my inspiration for the transport ship, for example. And I'm doing all this stuff, everything that I like and that inspires me, I try to bring into the story somehow, because I just like to paint it, and I like to live in this world. And actually, aspects like the scrats, for example, in chapter 6, Jonas is going into this scrat quarter, which is some kind of slum. Also, these are inspirations from Asia, where there's still huge differences in social standards, and you have the caste system in India still active, where you have people that are really living very poor lives, and I didn't want to have this completely romantic view of India, for example, where you only pick the cool stuff, the colorful dresses and the wonderful buildings and temples and stuff like that. I also pick that too, and you find a lot of it in the Wormworld Saga, but I also want to try to balance it out with social injustice And you know the Scrats in the Wormworld, and you might get this vibe, especially now from chapter 7. The Scrats of the Wormworld are some kind of slave society, and they are the working class. They do the dirty work. What you don't know maybe is you might remember the transport ship from chapter 5, which is oh, what's the word? It drives by rowing. You know, it has rudders. It's like a Roman galley where slaves are at the rudders, and you don't see it in the chapter, but it is Scrats that propel the ship, and it is Scrats that do the dirty work on top of the mountain in the facility of Muhadra, the big inventor. So and this will be an ongoing topic in the Wormworld Saga. The story about the Scrats will continue to become more and more important in the story, and for me that's important too, because social injustice is an important theme of our current times, and I hope that my reflection on this theme helps to understand the problem, or to communicate the problem to people. Yeah, and the rest. I actually, what I found out when I just recently read all the chapters of the saga so far, is that there are certain characters that I don't really know where they come from, but I think they come from my subconsciousness. So, and they all might be parts of my personality. So what you might see is that Jonas is surrounded by a lot of strong and a little bit cold-hearted male characters. It starts with his father. It continues with the wise man from Ankalasha, Janakajiva, who is not really empathetic, who just tells Jonas what he has to do, and that there's no question about that he has to do it. Then we see Raya's father, the king, who is also very distanced to his daughter. And then we see now in the latest chapter, in chapter 7, we see the figure of Master Otomo, and he's also not very capable to empathize with Jonas. There's this awkward scene with between those two in the garden, where Jonas, after all the stress falls from his shoulders, he starts to cry, and Otomo doesn't know how to react to it. He just isn't capable to comfort Jonas. Raya is needed to do that. So we have this contrast between male and female characters in the story, and that's really interesting for myself, because I didn't really plan those characters. I had well, let's say a rough picture of them. Master Otomo for me during all the years was just the warrior. And just when I started to plan chapter 7, when we would actually meet Master Otomo, I started to ask myself, what would be his character traits? What kind of warrior is he? And he turned out to be a strong person, and he can be empathetic. He has empathy, but only with Raya. You will find that he can empathize with Raya. He says that he can imagine that it's hard for her. When he talks to her at the dinner, he says things about her father, and that she shouldn't should not judge him too harshly. And he can empathize with Raya, but he cannot empathize with Jonas. And this is stuff that really, I'm seeing it. I see how it happens in my writing, but I don't really know where it comes from. And so I think this is the more mysterious part of my inspiration that I can't explain for myself. Well, in contrast to the very obvious inspiration, the visual inspirations from cultures that actually exist on our planet. Okay, next question. Any plans to have the Wormworld Saga made into an animated version at some point? No, there are no plans, because how could I plan something like that? You know, having a material, a book or a comic picked up by production companies that make movies out of it, this happens to a few lucky people. The question remains, if they are so lucky. I already saw comic or book adaptations where I thought they should better not have been made. But the thing is that if I'm dreaming about something, if I'm dreaming about an animated or a movie version of the Wormworld Saga, I'm actually dreaming of animation and not of live action. I'm a big fan of Japanese animation, and I think it would be a dream come true for me if the Wormworld Saga would be made into a Japanese animation, you know, with wonderfully painted backgrounds and skillful 2D animation. That would be something. That would be a dream come true for me. I don't know so much about other ways like 3D animation or live action. And I don't want to sound like I'm picky or something like that. I just don't think about the possibility to make the Wormworld Saga into a movie too much. It's too much out there, too far out there, and it doesn't occupy my thoughts a lot. But if it should happen, my preference would be an animated movie, and a 2D animated movie would be my absolute preference. So if anyone hears this and has the money to produce an animated movie, I'm game. Okay. All right. Next question. When will Chapter 6 become available for translation in the Google spreadsheet? Oh, this is Ivan. Okay, yo. Yes. The thing is with the translations, I'm really humbled by the people that helped me to translate the Wormworld Saga. But due to complete work overload, I just had to pause the translation process. But as this is Ivan asking me, and you have to know that Ivan Berov has created like 90% of all the translation layouts that you can see online on the website, and he's doing it completely for free. And I cannot thank him enough for this, because every translation takes at least 2 hours to lay out, and that's only the easy ones. We had the translations into Hindi or into Arabic. They were a huge pain in the A, because we had to start to think about texts that run from right to left instead of left to right, and all those technical difficulties that come with working in an alphabet that you just can't decipher. So he's done a wonderful job. And you know what? I will just put up the chapter 6 and 7 into the official public translation document, so that everyone can have fun with it, and we will just have to see how we cope with the layout work that comes from this. But since you are asking this, Ivan, I assume that you are ready to do more work on that, and I of course I don't want to want that you are bored, so I will just do it within the next few days. All right. Okay, and this is a question that's a little bit like the one that we already had. Where did you get your inspiration for the Wormworld Saga? I think that I answered this. Well, maybe this question goes more into the direction of why I did start the project. You know, this is actually how can I answer this in a quick way? You know, I'm a digital artist, and as a digital artist, you normally paint a lot of digital illustrations. And back in the years, I always painted something just to become better, and it was completely it completely didn't matter to me what I painted. I painted fantasy stuff and science fiction stuff, and all stuff just to become better in painting. And I came to a point where I thought that my painting skills were developed far enough that I wanted to paint, that I wanted to start to think more about what I paint and not so much about how I painted. And that was the time when I started a little sketchbook or notebook where I started to gather ideas about my own world, my own ideas, characters, and stuff like that, to make illustrations from that. And the thing is that as I started to think about this world, and the very first thing I wrote down was the background story of the gods and what happened to the world, why there's no fire in the world, and what happened to the god of fire, and stuff like that. Very mystic stuff. There were no characters in this world at the first place, and but then it somehow got out of control, and I started to bring the first characters into this, and then there was a day when I had this idea with the magic painting and the little boy going into the magic painting, and he would have to fight the god of fire, and then the idea came that he might be totally afraid of fire, and that brought in the idea that he might have a shocking experience in his childhood, and this brought in the dead mother, and one thing led to another, and it just got out of control. And I didn't really think about illustrating it with single artworks, but I pretty much came to a point where I just had to do something else with it. And I remember that I started to write a novel, at least a few scenes. And it turned out that I'm not capable of writing a novel because I'm completely stuck in visual imagery. And I always started to describe stuff that you could see. And you should never do this in a good novel. And so I stopped the novel idea, and well, I actually then thought that making a comic would be a good idea. So this started it, and the fact is that I'm filling notebooks. You can see them right here. This is R2D2. These are my notebooks for the Wormworld Saga, and I can just give you a look at the very first one. That's this one here. So this is the very first Wormworld notebook, and I started it in 2005. And at that time, I already had a lot of ideas, because my first ideas started around 2003. But here you can see, and just let me. Okay, so now we have automatic exposure on so that you can see what's happening. So we have a lot of stuff here, mostly text, but in some cases you find some scribbles, or if I had painted an image, I printed it out and put it into here. And here's the first map of the Wormworld. And well, I just was writing a lot of stuff and trying to come up with stuff. And whenever I came up with something, it normally started something new. And when I, for example, when I had the idea with the magic painting, the next thing I thought about is who painted it? Well, that's a question that we never asked in the Wormworld Saga so far. But it's like, what I can tell you is that the question who painted the magic painting is a very important question in the whole saga. So this is all stuff that will come up in the future, hopefully. And there's a lot of questions in the background, actually. And some of those questions I have already hinted at in the last 2 chapters. So in chapter 6, it starts that we learn about the background history of Raya, and that she was somehow involved in the opening of the mountaintop, the breaking of the seal. And now in chapter 7, we get even more hints how she might have been involved in everything. And all these questions are connected to each other. And my hope is that I will be able to develop all those questions and, of course, the answers to those questions in a way that is entertaining to everyone. And I just I can't hope for more right at the moment. But there's a lot of stuff in the background. I have only communicated a fraction of the stuff that is already in my notebooks to the public through the existing chapters right now. Okay. And then, are there any other side project plans which are not Wormworld Saga related? Right at the moment, I have a little book, a notebook that is not my Wormworld Saga notebook. Well, I have the Wormworld Saga notebooks over there, and I have this red notebook here. It was a Christmas present from the Tokyo Pop Publishing House, and in this notebook I have ideas, and my rule is, this is my idea book, and the rule is to describe a new idea on only 1 page. So I have it's not much in there right now, but it's a handful of projects that I try to set up, and that I don't know, maybe I will find the time and the resources to develop one of these projects. Just recently, I actually had an idea for a graphic novel, which would not be a series, but one finished story, not too long, maybe 200 pages or something like that. A finished story that is not Wormworld Saga related, but which is very strongly inspired by my childhood. It would, in fact, it would be partly autobiographic, but it also has a fantasy twist. I don't want to talk too much about it because this would steal my motivation to actually develop the idea further. Because, you know, one of the biggest motivation to do the Wormworld Saga and to stick with it and to put so much time into it is that I'm really, really have strong feelings about the story and how it develops and what will be discovered during the storyline and what we will discover about the characters. And I'm really believe strongly in the quality of the story. And I couldn't just now. I could sit down and tell you about all this stuff, about all the characters that we still have to meet, and what their purpose of the story is, and the development of Jonas, and how this whole thing comes to a huge end in the end. But then I would not have to create the comic anymore. The fact that I want to tell these things keeps my motivation up to create the Wormworld Saga graphic novel, because that's my way to tell the story. There's no shortcut. I could tell you the whole saga and all its plot points and all its great ideas that I have for it in 2 hours or 3 hours. And there's a few people where that have heard this story. For example, my publisher, because they, of course, wanted to know where I'm heading with the story. And everyone that heard my plans for the story was very enthusiastic about it after I finished talking about it. But and I'm completely eager to tell this story to as many people as possible. But my only way to do it is through these chapters, chapter by chapter, which is a lot of work, which is a lot of patience that I have to pay. But this is my motivation. This is why I won't stop creating the Wormworld Saga as long as I can in any way afford to do it. Okay. Here's a thing for 3D. You could look into the program Blender. You know, the interesting thing is that I used Blender a lot in chapter 7. I started to use Blender in chapter 6, but at that point I wasn't I couldn't do too much in it because I was still learning the program. But in chapter 6 I did a lot of stuff in Blender. For example, the final location, the facility of the inventor, there is a complete Blender model for this facility, which I used to plan the different camera angles. I can actually show it to you. This would be fun. Have a look. I know that I might be able to do a screen share. I don't know. I might just try it. I might just try to do a screen share. I don't really know how. Oh, like this? Bildschirm freigeben. Screen share. Yeah, this one. This one. All right. Seems to work. Okay. So what we see here is the 3D software Blender, which is open source. It's free to use, and that's the reason why I'm using it. During my time as a game artist, I worked with all the professional 3D software, with 3D Studio, with Maya, and there were times a few years back when I had my own license of Maya, for example. But now it's too expensive for me, and it's would not really be worth the expense. But I found that Blender is really a cool program. So what I have here, what you see here is the last scene that I had, which you will see is the final panel of chapter 7, where the crystal ball is revealed to the viewer. And you can see here that I have the whole scene as a 3D model, which is very important for this location because lighting is crucial in this location, and the camera angles are also crucial, and there's a lot of stuff standing around, like the crane, for example, or the staircase. And also for for the beginning of this sequence, when Muhadra comes down the stairs from his window, they have his laboratory here, and you see it's a very rough scene, but it has just enough information for me in order to plan it. And that's the facility from the outside. And this is my 3D model to work in this complicated location. A 3D model like this is not needed for every location. For example, I was able to create the dinner scene at Otomo's house without 3D reference because it's a simple scene. But a complicated scene like Muhadra's facility is really, it's really a big time saver to have this model. And I spent about 1 day to create this model. And because it's a lot of reuse, you know, these arches here, they are everywhere. And these big cranes here that lower down the probes into the glowing chasm, they are duplicated in the background. And you can do this stuff in 3D. But the comic does not use rendered images. I'm just using these 3D scenes as preliminary drawings, so to say. So I have them in the background, I render an image, and when it is rendered, I can just give you a small example of that, how this thing looks when it's rendered. It would look something like this. A very rough rendering, which just has some lighting information for me, where I can see what the different light sources are doing. And this is enough for me to create the painting after it. And I have also experimented. I have also experimented already with actually using 3D rendered content in the comic, but up to this point, I was not able to create the look that I imagine with 3D rendered elements because, well, they tend to look very tidy and very precise, and I think the loose quality on the backgrounds in the Wormworld Saga is I like this. I like the well, in parts it's an impressionistic approach to detail, and I don't yet know how to do this in 3D. If I would find a way to do it, I can absolutely imagine to use it. And I know that Blender features non-realistic rendering, cartoon rendering systems and something like that, and I might experiment with it. But right at the moment, for me, the best of two worlds is to model something in 3D, use this as a guideline for painting. All right, so we have 3 more questions. Okay, 1 is not a question. Oh, 2 are not a question. So we have actually only 1 question left. This is also not a question. Okay, and this is a feedback. I agree on your thoughts regarding animation. I just recently saw The Tale of Princess Kaguya by Studio Ghibli. It was made in traditional pencil animation with watercolor backgrounds. Really love that style. Yeah, you know what? I didn't see Princess Kaguya yet. But of course, I'm also a big fan of Studio Ghibli animation. And actually, this is a wonderful segue to show you the latest addition to my studio. Since the beginning of the year, I have a new hobby. And I will just show you. You can see it here in the background already. This is what you see here is my, and I will just turn the lights in my studio. Give me a second. So what you see there is, this is my old painting table. I used this as a schoolboy already. My father bought it for me. It's a second-hand. It's actually a light table. You could lift off the wood panel on top, and it's a light table beneath. But I don't need the light table function so often, so it's just a painting table right now. And talking about the Studio Ghibli stuff, my new hobby is painting backgrounds or artwork inspired by Studio Ghibli backgrounds. So for that purpose, and I just might need to take the microphone with me so that you can still hear me. So what we see here is my setup. Here's the colors. These are, and I just have to lift those off so that I can show it to you. And I actually, so these are the actual colors which are used at Studio Ghibli, and in fact, most other Japanese animation studios. It's called Nika poster color, and it's a set of 24 colors. And they are used for animation background painting. And here you can see my first experiments with that technique, clearly inspired by artwork that I saw from Howl's Moving Castle or My Neighbor Totoro. And this is my new hobby since a few months. And as you can see here, I have contraptions to fix a camera over my table, and I'm planning actually to record all my painting in this media, partly to keep it as a record for myself. For training reasons, just so that I can revisit my painting and see what I did and what worked and what did not work. But of course, as soon as my painting skills in this poster color advances, I'd love to share my painting process with the world. And so within the next few months, you might find me paintings or recordings of my painting process in poster color on YouTube. Watch out for it. It might be fun. I actually enjoy it a lot. It's much slower than digital painting, but just through a few experiments that I had in the last few weeks, I learned a lot about the usage of color and how to work with a limited palette. And I think that it will reflect on my digital painting too. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to spend more time on that. Yeah, and this was, if I see it right, the last question. And so this can only mean that we're coming close to the end of this live broadcast from my studio. By the way, I never mentioned that where I am. I'm sitting here in Warendorf, Germany, a small town in the northern part of Germany. And it's always a very fascinating thought that my story that's created in this little house here in this little town in Germany is experienced and read by so many people out there in the world. And this is really great. And well, you find me at a loss of words. And I would say, we make a cut over here. I really enjoy these live hangouts, by the way. It's the closest thing to meeting people in person, actually. And what I did not try this time is to actually bring other people into the chat. Normally in Google Hangouts, you can have up to 10 people connected, and that would be worth a try too, to have more people that could interact more directly with each other. So I might try that in one of the next Hangouts. Last time there was a Google Hangout after thank you, Rene. Rene wrote that he changed his pledge from $40 to $65 for the deluxe edition. That's really nice. And by the way, let's just have a final look what Kickstarter says. Oh yes, $1,200. Cool. I'm really looking forward to the Kickstarter campaign. And I hope that it's going through. We have our funding goal is way higher than the last time, but we are still well beneath the goal that we reached last time. So I am confident that we will do it, but you never know. If I learned one thing is you never know how a Kickstarter campaign progresses. So you should not assume anything about it. All right, but I got off track. What I wanted to do is say goodbye to everyone. Thank you for sticking with it. I hope you had some interesting insight into my production process, into the stuff that is behind the story, the Wormworld Saga, and I can't believe that you took time out of your evening to watch this, and I'm really flattered by that. And I wish everyone, well, for some of you it might not be evening like at my place here. We are approaching midnight right at the moment. So everyone where it's just bright daylight, enjoy the rest of the Sunday. For everyone who is in a comparable time zone to my time zone, have a nice evening, have a good sleep, have a good start into the next week. I've already got some stuff on my table for tomorrow. And I just wish everyone a good rest of the weekend, a good start into the next week. And I hope to see you at the next live stream, which might happen at the end of the Kickstarter campaign. We had a live stream at the end of the Kickstarter campaign. And if not, we definitely will meet again when the next chapter, Chapter 8 of the Wormworld Saga is released. There's no release date or not even a faint plan when Chapter 8 will happen. I still have to find the budget for that. And but well, it worked 7 times already. I am confident that it might work the 8th time again. But again, you never know. So I just don't want to jinx it. Okay, so good night, good day, good evening, whatever to everyone, and nice to have you have met you here. And well, I think I just have to push stop broadcast now, or I will continue to talk the whole night. So okay, stop broadcast. See you.